Welcome to Nexor Reacts with none other than your host, myself, Nexor. I hope you're well, hope you're safe. Now, let's plug in and see what the simulation or the Matrix has in store for us today. Simulation theory is fascinating. And yeah, as he said in that video, that man was able to see binary code on one of the most microscopic levels just imprinted in our DNA. I think that's pretty damning evidence, don't you think? Well, that just about does it for today's video. Thanks for sticking around if you have done so. If you want to continue the conversation, please join our Discord community. We keep the conversation alive there on all of the different subject matter which is covered in these videos. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I post a video every day around 8 PM. I'll see you later.